Why believe in a creator? Reasonable versus possible. I've heard people say that since it is possible for the cosmos to exist without a creator, that it isn't reasonable to believe in a creator. That is, some people argue that you should not believe in a creator because other possibilities exist. The question of whether or not such possibility exists aside, the logic here is astoundingly bad. For example, let's say that a woman is brought to trial for murdering her husband. The prosecution cites 3 items of evidence against her. First, she was found at the crime scene with blood on her hands. Second, she had recently discovered that her husband had been cheating on her. Third, she had written a confession note. The defense, on the other hand, points out that it is possible that someone else could have murdered the woman's husband. After all, the blood could have been the result of gutting a deer she had hunted earlier in the day. She just hadn't got around to washing the blood off. It's possible. After all, it could be that the discovery of her husband was cheating isn't significant, since she might have been okay with her husband cheating on her. It's possible she might have been okay with it. So why would she have killed him? Also, the confession note may have been meant as an entry in a short story contest, and that's why it was around. Not because she had killed someone and confessed to it, but she was just going to write she was just entering a short story contest, and she decided to use the form of a confession letter. It's possible. Now, the legal system has to make a decision regarding this woman. The prosecution has their evidence, the defense has their explanation for it, and we're going to have to make a decision with it. And the type of decision that is made is what is called a consistency test. In a consistency test, 2 or more mutually exclusive hypotheses are pitted against each other. In this case, either the woman is innocent or she is guilty. Next, the likelihood of the observed evidence, given that each particular hypothesis is true, is determined. Lastly, given that the most self-consistent hypothesis is likely to be true, a decision can be made. One of the hypotheses regarding the woman is that she is innocent. And here we have a diagram that demonstrates that. The curve, the little weird blue shape here that is underneath kind of a bell-shaped curve, that is the normal curve. And it is a mathematical representation that is used to show how likely a given event is. And you'll notice that this particular curve has a lot of blue under it. What you want to have is white. White is very high probability. But here, the white parts at the ends, down at the bottom, is very, very, very small. What that means is that the probability that all of this evidence is just simply the result of happenstance, that probability is really low. And because of that, the probability of innocence given the evidence, what that tells us is that this is not very likely to happen. Yes, it's possible that she just simply hadn't washed her hands after gutting the deer. It's possible that she was just simply, writing an entry for a short story contest, so on and so forth. But those things are not all that likely, especially not all that likely to occur at this particular moment in time when someone should randomly kill her husband. It's possible, but it's not likely. The other hypothesis regarding the woman is that she is guilty. And here you'll notice that a lot more of the normal curve is white. What that means is that there is a very high probability that all of the evidence is the result of an intent to kill. What that means is that she's probably guilty. It's possible that other explanations apply, but it is not probable that they apply. As the evidence stands, the most consistent explanation of the evidence is that the woman murdered her husband. However, she will not be convicted unless the jury feels that her guilt can be established beyond all reasonable doubt. Notice that the law doesn't say beyond all possible doubt. Why? Because the standard of possibility is a really, really bad standard. For example, it is possible that you, me, everyone on the face of the planet, or at least everyone that we think of on the face of the planet, is really asleep in an alien ship. And they've put us basically into an induced coma, and they're giving us the simulation to live in. And that's what we're experiencing right now. And we're going to continue to live in that simulation until we get to their home world. Then they're going to take us out of that simulation so that they can put us through the slaughterhouse and eat us for lunch. It's possible. However, that is not a very reasonable way to live your life. So as it relates to the woman, in summary, even though it is possible that the woman is innocent, the most reasonable belief is that she is guilty. Now, how does all of this relate back to a belief in the Creator? Well, there are two basic, mutually exclusive hypotheses we have available to us to consider. The first hypothesis is that the Supreme Creator does exist. The other one is that the Supreme Creator does not exist. Further, there is at least one amazing piece of evidence to consider. You. In what way are you evidence in this debate? Well, you, like me, are a living, sentient being who is capable of believing in the Creator. So, the question becomes, which hypothesis, that the Creator does exist or that He does not exist, is most consistent with the fact that you are what you are, a living, sentient being who can believe in the Creator? So, here again is another representation of what we have available to us. The first hypothesis is that the Creator exists. The second one is that the Creator doesn't exist. And each one represents in white the probability that you exist given each hypothesis. Now, if we're going to talk about the hypothesis that the Creator exists, then your existence fits into that very well. The probability would be quite high. There's lots of white space. Why? Because if a Creator exists, it makes sense that He would create something that is capable of recognizing Him, i.e. you. However, if the Creator doesn't exist, that means that your existence has to be essentially the result of happenstance. It just happened to occur. Not necessarily had to, but it just happened that way. It's a naturally occurring random event. And since it's a randomly occurring natural event, the probability is not high. That is, in fact, all people, believers and atheists alike, agree that the probability of life naturally arising is quite low, let alone sentient, belief-capable life. On the other hand, existence of living sentient beings capable of belief is perfectly consistent with the assertion that the Creator exists. Consequently, saying that believing in the Creator is unreasonable since it is possible for the cosmos, including you, to exist without Him is a statement that is just false on its face. The fact that you exist as a living sentient being who is capable of belief in the Creator is most consistent with the hypothesis that the Creator exists. Hence, belief in the Creator is the most reasonable belief. Again, possibility is not disproof. Given a set of possibilities, one must ask which is most consistent with its respective hypothesis, and so establish which possibility is most reasonable. You are a being who lives. You are a being who's self-aware. You are a being who can believe in the Creator. You can believe that that happened by sheer random chance, which is not very likely at all, or you can believe that it was in the intentional result of a Supreme Creator. One has a very high likelihood, the other one has a very low likelihood. The most reasonable one to go with is the one that has the high likelihood. That you were created, and therefore you are. Thank you for your time. Go with God and be blessed.